welcome to Pruitt Homestead and Tomato Talk Tuesday, where we get together in the greenhouse and we talk about tomatoes. If this is your first time being introduced to Pruitt Homestead, we live on a quarter-acre piece of property in the middle of a subdivision. We have gardens in our front yard and in our backyard that supply us with probably 80% of all the vegetables we consume right off of this piece of property. We have an egg layer flock in the backyard that gives us 100% of all the eggs that we consume, and they pay for themselves, y'all. A couple times a year we grow meat, we raise meat chickens on this piece of property, and we process them right here in the backyard in the middle of a subdivision, and that supplies us with 100% of all the chicken we consume. We practice subsistence agriculture, so we try to do as best as we can to supply all of our needs right here from this little piece of property that we've been given. Right? Are we able to fulfill that 100%? No, we're not. There's a lot of things that we still have to go and buy. Beef, for an example. We don't buy beef at the grocery store. We buy that directly from the farmer, right? Things like flour and sugar, we still have to get that from another source, simply because we can't grow it right here on this one piece of property. And we recognize that we don't have to be experts in every field of life. There are other people that raise beef better than we could. There's other people that raise wheat better than we could, but we do love supporting local agriculture as much as possible. So that's what we try to do. We still have a few items we have to buy from the grocery store, but we feel like we do pretty good for what we have right here. Our mission statement is to be self-sufficient. We do okay at that. And then the second part is to encourage others. And that's what Tomato Talk Tuesday is about. That's what Porch Time is about. This is our opportunity to hang out with you, answer questions, talk about tomatoes, talk about life, talk about homesteading, and encourage you. Maybe you're just getting started. Maybe it's something that you're looking at doing, maybe at a later date. Maybe you're waiting for a certain precipice in life. Maybe you're waiting on retirement. Well, we're here to encourage you and say, today's the day. Pick up a shovel, get a spade, get out in that yard, and dig a hole and plant a tomato. That's how it started for me. I was standing in a grocery store one day looking at the tomato bin, right? And I wanted a tomato sandwich, and I just knew that tomato from that grocery store was not going to fulfill the need that I was looking for. I wanted a good tomato sandwich. So I left that store and I went and bought a tomato plant, and that's where it all started for me. 40 years old, I decided, hey, I could do better than what mainstream media, what your big box store says is good for me. And so, man, it was life-changing, and we've come a long, long, long way, and we do as best as we can right here on this piece of property. As you come on, please let me know you're here. We do have the chat open, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you might have. I do want to know that you are here, so please let me know when you come in. I've got a couple of things to share with you tonight. Some friends of mine have sent me some pictures over the last week or so. And man, I'm so encouraged that people are really grabbing a hold of this idea of growing their own food, of supplementing what the grocery store supplies to them. And so, man, I want to share some of that with you here in just a couple of minutes. We are going to talk about, excuse me, I got a little dry there. We're going to talk about when do we harvest our tomatoes tonight. Let's take a walk through the greenhouse tomatoes, right? This is the first time I've ever grown tomatoes in a greenhouse setting. We just built this greenhouse last year, in the fall of last year, because we had a storm here, right? We had what we believed to be a tornado come right through the backyard. It was the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life. It blew all the fence down, and it tore up our little greenhouse that we had. We had a little 8x10 greenhouse that I built for my wife a couple of years ago, and the tornado just destroyed it. So we said, hey, if we're going to rebuild, if we're going to build another greenhouse, let's go bigger, right? And so we just kind of eyeballed the space that we had here at the property, and we said 12 by 24, that's a good number, let's give it a shot. And so here we are in our first 12 by 24. The success that I'm seeing in growing tomatoes in the greenhouse hey Kevin, I'm so glad you're here. The success we're having with growing tomatoes in the greenhouse may dictate that we want to build a second greenhouse here in the backyard. I do have a spot right here beside this greenhouse that we could put another one, and it might be a great way to grow some food. So let's take a look. I'm going to grab a hold of you, and we're going to move over here and take a look at the tomatoes that are growing in the greenhouse. We also have a single stem cucumber that's doing fantastic. Noel picked the cucumber off there tonight. It was that long, it was that big around. Man, fantastic cucumber. So come take a look. I hope you don't get too dizzy. Hope nobody is drinking tonight. Let's start here. This is Sun Gold. This was a late planting for Sun Gold, right? You can see it's already up to the hip board on the greenhouse. As we go down, everything looks nice and healthy. We have beautiful, beautiful trusses of tomatoes here, and they are growing nicely. That's a beautiful truss. The first truss on a Sun Gold is super, super heavy. You can just see how many tomatoes are on that, and it's just beautiful. Plant's nice and healthy. There's a little sucker back there. We're going to go ahead and pull that off. The next plant over is Cosmic Eclipse, right? Overall, we look pretty healthy. Up here in the crown, I'm not sure what's going on. There's a few things that I'm just not super impressed with, but I'm not stressing out about it. We do have a sucker here. I'm going to leave that for now because should we have an issue with this crown, I can allow this sucker to grow. So we're gonna hold off on cutting this back for right now. Not sure what's happening there. That could be from not watering correctly. We'll move on down. We have fruit here. And then this is the original fruit truss. And you can see the color is fantastic. It's a beautiful, beautiful tomato. We'll come back up. This is black cherry. This is one of the first plants I put in the greenhouse, and you can see it is all the way up to the roof, and we are traveling along the line that goes up to the ridge. We've got pollinators in the greenhouse. This is doing fine, even with it touching the ceiling. So I'm not stressed out about that. There's a sucker there. We're going to pull that. Fruit trusses are nice, good and healthy, all the way back. Here's another nice fruit truss. The fruit size is beautiful. I'm probably going to do some pruning here pretty soon. Another fruit truss. There's a lot of tomatoes on this plant, friends. I mean, a lot of tomatoes. Hey Tab, glad you're here. Cynthia, so glad you're here. I see your question. No, not in the greenhouse only. This is my first time growing tomatoes in the greenhouse. Beautiful fruit truss there. And then we'll come on down. This is the original fruit truss. We've got color and look at that. Matter of fact, we're going to pick that. That's a beautiful tomato, friends. That's a beautiful tomato. We're going to eat that here in just a minute. We'll move on over. This is another Sun Gold, all the way to the roof. Fruit trusses are, man, they're just heavy. Look at this, y'all. Look at the size. I mean, here. There's my arm. That's how long it is. That's fantastic. That's just totally amazing. Leaves look good, nice and healthy. I'm going to do some pruning. Original fruit truss. We got some tomatoes in here. That's cracking. Why? Inconsistent watering. That looks pretty good. Set in color. This is our cucumber, single stem cucumber. When you do single stem cucumber, you do not allow suckers and you do not allow tendrils. So we pluck the tendrils off. And we're going to allow that to travel up the ridge as far as it likes to go. Looks like we got some honeybees in here. And that over there, I'm out of cord, y'all, so I can't stretch you out any closer. That is Cherokee Purple. I'll try to get you closer to that one next week. Fruit's looking good. We don't have any color on that yet. I do see a fruit over there that has blossom end rot. And that blossom end rot is probably because I need to change my irrigation system in the greenhouse. Other stuff, right? I got peppers down here. These are Calhoun cayennes. And then I've got some basil. That's mammoth basil. These are suckers that I started a few weeks back. They need to find a new home. I always plant some suckers because if I have a failure, I want a plant that I can just pop right in the dirt or in the hydroponic system and keep on going. Got a few bell peppers. This is some okra. I'm probably going to find a place for that to go soon. Bell peppers here. These are some figs that I got from a friend in Oklahoma, Okie Rob. He is on YouTube. A dear friend of mine. Look at this, Rob. This thing is in this little pot and it's trying to set fruit. Isn't that beautiful? These are LSU figs. So I'm excited to get some size to them, and we're going to get them planted out in the dirt. So that's what we got growing in the greenhouse. There's other things in here, but I'm not going to get too deep into that. Cracking, right? Tomato cracking. Let's see. Yeah, you can see that pretty well. My wife is on here. She said, eat that tomato. If you get cracking, you can eat that tomato. It's just ugly, right? There's nothing wrong with it. Man, that is sweet, y'all. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's sweet. There's Steve Bowen calling me. Steve, I'm on tomato talk, brother. So let's open up this black cherry here. Here's the color on it. Right, the color is fantastic. This is one of my favorite cherry tomatoes to grow. I love it. The inside is fantastic. What do you think? Man, I wish the sun would come out. That's so pretty. So pretty. Nice and juicy. Man, it smells like a tomato. I wish you had smell-o-vision. Y'all friends. That's my first black cherry for the year. Man. You got to try this. If you're not growing tomatoes at home, you got to do this.
You got another one to pick?
There's another one. Come on in. The wife is here.
Because you can't be eating black cherry tomatoes without me.
Oh man, they're fantastic. Grab that one right there. You need a knife?
Nope.
Hey y'all, this is the wife, Noelle. I know everybody knows her. No,
You want to cut it in half? Because I can just eat it.
it's a big tomato. It's really juicy. You can fill your mouth up. What a great tomato. Man, everybody's messaging. It's all good. Praise the Lord. So, look at her eating it. Isn't that good?
Oh my gosh.
Isn't it fantastic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
good.
The wife
Okay.
approves.
I'm done.
The
Thank
wife
you.
approves. Thanks for coming to visit.
That was good.
You're welcome. So let's talk about when do we harvest tomatoes, right? Can you wait until they turn red? Yes, you can. The big note is all the animals are watching too, right? Birds are watching for that premium red ripe tomato also. And I've lost a lot of tomatoes to predation, right? To the birds and to the squirrels. Y'all, I swear to you, right here where we sit used to be a huge oak tree. We cut it down 2 years ago to free up space because it was useless to us, right? We decided this is going to be our homestead and we need all the space that we can get. So we cut that tree down, and squirrels used to live in that tree, and I'm not even lying to you. They would go and pick my tomatoes and sit on the roof and watch me while they ate my tomatoes. Man, you want to talk about insulted? That was me. So here's what I like to do, right? When I am looking at the tomato patch, and walk your tomatoes every day. Get out there, get your hands on them, man. Touch them, walk through them, check for worms, right? You got a lot of stuff to do if you're growing tomatoes, because if you don't, the world's going to take over. Kind of like what's happening with our kids, right? I'll digress. So what I like to do is, as soon as I see blush, right, as soon as I start to see some color on that tomato, right, this one you can just barely tell, right? You can see how green it is here, but you can tell there's a little bit of yellowing going on, right? That's the first blush that I see, and I'll go ahead and pick that tomato because it's already started to off gas and it's starting to turn, right? The goal is for us to eat tomatoes, not the wildlife. So I'll pick them at any stage as long as they have blush on them, right? As long as they're not just solid green. I will normally wait until about like this, right? That's perfect picking as far as I'm concerned. That it can sit on the counter in a nice cool place and finish ripening in the house where it's safe. And here's what we end up with. Check this out. Friends, this is the goal, right? This is what we want right there. Do you see that? Do you see the color? That's what we're looking for. So that tomato's been sitting in the house for about a week. This is a big beef, right? That's the average size for a big beef. They'll get a little bit bigger than that, sometimes a little bit smaller. But that's the perfect tomato. And I picked it when it was like this, and I let it sit on the counter, and now it's ready for some Duke's mayonnaise and a good slice of bread, right? So yeah, that's when I like to harvest tomatoes. That first blush, right? When it comes to cherry tomatoes, normally I'll let them go a good ways in, but I'll also pick them a little bit early. Like this can get a little bit darker, right? If I eat this tomato right here, it'd be a little twangy. You saw some of the black cherries. They still are quite green. These Cosmic Eclipse tomatoes, they stay really dark for a really, really long time. And then you'll start to see a little bit of yellow, and you'll start to see some orange come into that tomato, and that's when I'll pick that tomato. These Cosmic Eclipse, they can be a little bit difficult to know, when perfectly ripe is. But you feel it, right? You want to feel a tenderness to it, right? You want to make sure it's ready to go, right? You want a good tomato. So that's what I like to do. Now, if you're looking for a green tomato, for fried green tomato, that's it right there, y'all. If it gets a little bit of yellow on it, we know that we're starting to produce some sweetness, and that's a great tomato to slice and fry. Man, I've got our neighbor across the street, Miss Lily. She likes them to get a little bit darker than that before she fries them. She likes a little bit sweeter tomato. But as far as like a fried green tomato, if it's a green tomato, you could cut it and fry it right then and there. So we've got them at all different color variations right now, y'all. Right? I mean, that ensures a tomato sandwich every day, right? Right? I mean, from that color to that color to ready to eat. Stay in your tomato patch, see what's going on. Pick those tomatoes when they're ready to go, right? That tomato right there will be ready to eat 2 days. Oh, we got them all sizes too, right? So that's my general rule when it comes to when to harvest tomatoes. Number one, get out there, look at them. If they're blushing and you've got any chance of predators, birds, squirrels, coons, possums, whatever it is, go ahead and pick that tomato as soon as it gets a little blush on it. Bring it in the house, keep it in a cool place. Don't put your tomato in the refrigerator. If you put it in the refrigerator, it's going to stop the ripening process. Matter of fact, my mother used to say a tomato isn't fit to eat if it ever goes into the refrigerator. So we don't recommend putting it in the refrigerator. And if you cut that tomato and you have leftovers, well, maybe you should reconsider and finish eating that tomato. Because leftover tomatoes shouldn't really go in the refrigerator either. Just based on the general rule that my mother said that they're no good after you put them in the refrigerator. They lose their flavor, is what she said. So keep them on the counter, let them ripen, and enjoy your tomatoes. So that is when to harvest tomatoes. Now, I want to take a look at some pictures. I want to show you our friends who are growing food in the front yard and in their backyard. Let me get these tomatoes out of the way. I'll go ahead and snack on that. That was a little bit tart. just a little bit tart. So, jump over here. Here we go. Here's the first friend, Okie Rob. Rob sent me some pictures. He is harvesting right now his spring vegetables. He's harvested a lot of cabbage. These are mustard greens that he is harvesting, giving away. Rob is a lot like me when it comes to grains. We always plant too much, and we give them away, we sell them, we do everything we can with mustard greens. But man, that is one plant that just continuously gives and gives and gives and gives and gives. And you don't have to plant a lot of mustard greens to have a fantastic harvest, because eating those fresh is so valuable. You can blanch them down and put them in the freezer, and they hold really well. So yeah, there's his mustard greens. He's making sauerkraut. Sauerkraut's fantastic, easy to make. We have a video about making sauerkraut on our YouTube channel. So if you want to learn to make your own sauerkraut, man, just jump over to that video. And you can see these are some plum tomatoes that he's harvesting out there. I see an egg or two over there. So Rob's just doing it out there. I think he's going to be harvesting potatoes pretty soon. Rob also has a greenhouse, much larger. Matter of fact, he has 2 greenhouses that I believe they're both twice the size of our little greenhouse. And he grows food all year long in Oklahoma, even in the dead of winter when it's freezing out there. Beautiful cauliflower. Man, he was showing me some pictures of the way he puts that up the other day. He makes a vegetable medley and then just vacuum seals it, and it's fantastic. Rob, thank you for sharing some pictures with us. Let's jump over to my brother Kevin. There is Kevin's wife. This is Kevin's front yard, y'all. He's got tomatoes in the front yard. This is his backyard. Beautiful mullein. I see peas. I see beans. I think I see some kale. Man, Kevin is just progressing. He is en route to making his entire landscape about food and about medicinal herbs. Man, they're doing a great job. Kevin has grown some of the most beautiful sweet potatoes I think I've ever seen in my entire life. He grew sweet potatoes last year, y'all, that were as big as this. I mean, they were just massive. This is his first potato harvest. He's got purple and white potatoes there. He just planted a few plants, and they did great. I love it, man. I love that he's putting vegetables in the front yard. They do have an HOA, so let's talk about that for a second, right? If you live somewhere where there's an HOA and you fear the HOA folks coming down on you, sending you that little letter, right? Do what Kevin did. At least go through with due diligence, right? Read the documents, right? Kevin said he read the documents, and there was nothing in the HOA rules that said anything about landscaping, right? It said something about keeping the grass cut. And so Kevin said, let's push the boundaries, really. I mean, he's not really breaking any rules if there's nothing in it. So he built some raised beds right in his front yard and planted some tomatoes. And he is over there in Rankin encouraging people sitting right there in his neighborhood. And I absolutely love that, man. I'm so proud of these people going forward with supplementing their grocery bill. Man, they got a house full of people over there, and they got kids that they're feeding, and they're feeding good food to. Food that they know where it came from. And that's so important, and I absolutely love that. It's fantastic. Beautiful nasturtiums. If you didn't know, you can eat nasturtium. The flowers are wonderful. They have a sweetness when you first take a bite, and then they get a peppery flavor. The leaves of nasturtium are great in salads. a nice peppery flavor as well. We love nasturtium, and we snack on nasturtium every time we're in the front yard. So that's fantastic. And mullein looks great there. Man, I love what he's doing with his yard. His trellis looks great back there. All that's so exciting. So thanks for sharing that with us, Kevin, man. Please keep the pictures coming, because we want to watch this thing grow. We want to watch what you're doing in your HOA neighborhood. That's fantastic. Next up, we got Daniel. Daniel sent me some pictures. I guess it was, yeah, these pictures are from today, a couple of days ago. Look at that kale, man. That dude is growing some kale over there. He's got enough kale to feed the world. First year having a great success growing. Y'all, let me pause you for just a second, okay? I'll have to call that gentleman back. We got some great okra there. He's got a big old zucchini. He said that he believes his daughter might have missed that one when she was out harvesting. I believe these are pinto beans. This is his first year growing pinto beans. That's really exciting. Pinto beans, if you don't know, you got to let them dry on the vine. That's the best way to allow them to mature. You can eat pinto beans fresh, and so don't be afraid of that. Again, first year growing, great success of potatoes. And man, he harvested potatoes the other day. He sent me some pictures of his potato harvest with his kids, and I believe he said it was 86 pounds of potatoes, and I think, and that's all in a raised bed, and I think that's fantastic, right? Potatoes are a great way to feed your family and to know where your potatoes came from. Potatoes that you grow in your own garden last so much longer than potatoes that you might buy at the grocery store, because potatoes you buy in the grocery store have been in cold storage, and once they come out of cold storage and they acclimate themselves, they feel like they've gone through a winter, right? And once a potato believes it has completed its winter cycle, it wants to produce eyes and grow more potatoes. So that's why potatoes don't last very long that you get from the grocery store. But if you grow them yourself, potatoes can last up to 6 months. Keep them in a cool, dark location, out of direct sun. If they're in direct sun, they'll turn green and not do well at all. But if you can keep them in a cool, dark location, potatoes will last a really, really long time right in your house. So, Daniel, thank you for sending pictures. Please keep sending pictures so that we can share with the rest of the world. I'm so blessed to be able to share what all of you are doing in your gardens, in your backyards, in your front yards, supplying food to your family. Y'all, I tell you what, you bless my life by sharing what you're doing, right? I'm so encouraged that the message that Noel and I are putting out to the world is reaching somebody. And you're encouraging me with what you're doing, right? We're all going through this life, right? And some of us are growing some food and some of us aren't. But I'll tell you what, when I watch Daniel grow some pinto beans and I watch Kevin grow some sweet potatoes and some tomatoes in his front yard, it gives me hope that that we're going to be okay, right? We all know that we have a busted food system that just doesn't look very good to us, and it's, it makes people nervous. It makes me nervous, right? But I'm so grateful that the Lord has given us what we need and the knowledge to grow it. So it's a great blessing. Let me know what kind of questions you got. Do you have questions about what you're growing? We could talk about tomatoes, right? This is Tomato Talk Tuesday. I love talking about tomatoes. It's one of my favorite things to grow. We could talk about potatoes. We could talk about homesteading. We could talk about whatever you want. If you're on, let me know. Let me know what you got going on. I'm not going to spend a whole lot more time on this internet. So let me know what you got. My wife says nasturtiums are good in hair growth oil. She made a hair growth oil about 6 months ago, maybe a little bit longer. And she has a few people who have trusted her with that product, and they're seeing good results, right? We had a dear friend of ours who was losing hair after catching COVID, which so many people are going through that, thinning, losing hair. We said, hey, just try it, right? What have you got to lose? So she tried it, and her hair stopped falling out. I'm not sure that it's growing back, but it has stopped falling out. We have multiple people that are doing really well with that hair growth oil. Tim, what do you do to control blight in your tomatoes? Excellent question, and I'm so glad you asked it. Fungicide, right? You can use a copper fungicide, or I use potassium bicarbonate, right? It does a good job knocking blight down. That's my go-to, either copper fungicide or potassium bicarbonate. I use potassium bicarbonate for any type of mold or blight or mildew that we might get on our plants. That's one of the big things that we deal with here in southeast Georgia, is because it's so humid here, we get a lot of mildews and we get a lot of blight, right? So if we can just knock that down really fast, the potassium bicarbonate does that. And it does it without harming or causing any harm to you as you know, the consumer, the one that's eating it. So you can order potassium bicarbonate online. You know, Amazon, I'm sure, sells it, and it's sold by the pound. Or if you are local here in Savannah, just run over to Savannah Hydroponics. They're in Garden City. Go over there and see either Heather or go see Andrew, and tell them that Brian from Pruitt Homestead sent you over there looking for potassium bicarbonate, and they'll sell it to you. You can get a half a pound. It doesn't take much, you know. You need like a half a tablespoon to a tablespoon of this in a gallon of water. Be careful when you're mixing it. Don't inhale it, right? Let's not be silly. About a tablespoon, a half a tablespoon to a tablespoon per gallon of water. And that's going to go a long, long, long way. Mix it up really well, spray it on your plants, and you'll be great. Savannah Hydroponics. Just run over there, see, again, Heather or Andrew, and let them know Pruitt Homestead sent you over there, and they'll set you up. I wouldn't recommend getting more than, say, a half a pound. They have it in bulk, and they can sell it to you just like that. I don't know what the price is, but I tell you what, it's worth every penny. It's got to be the best fungicide I've ever used in my life. I used to use copper, a product called Copper Coside, and this is 10 times better. 10 times better. You're welcome, Tim. Thanks for the question. That is an awesome question. What other questions do you have? What kind of statements do you have? What's going on in your life? What's happening at your homestead? We want to hear about it. If you have pictures that you would like to share with Pruitt Homestead that we can feature here on Tomato Talk Tuesday or on our Sunday night program, which is Porch Time with Pruitt Homestead, please send them to us. You can either send, yes, proper PPE for sure, Steve. Don't neglect well-ventilated areas, right? If you feel like you need to wear gloves, do that for sure. Thank you for that, Steve. So if you've got pictures that you want to share and you want to allow us to share here on the program, you can either send them to us on our Facebook page. Just send us a message, attach your pictures, or you can email them to us at pruitthomestead@gmail.com. We would love to receive your pictures, and we would love to show what you're doing at your homestead. We think it would be fantastic, and another way for us to encourage the rest of the world to grow a little bit of food. Maybe put a greenhouse in their backyard. Maybe we can encourage somebody to get some chickens. I heard the other day somebody was wanting to get some chickens, but they were a little bit nervous about it. So I want to encourage you, go as far as you possibly can on the piece of property that you have been given, and man, grow some food. It's fantastic. All right, friends, if you don't have anything else for me tonight, get your questions together for next week. You can email them to us or just write them down and save them for the program next week, and we'll be happy to answer anything that you've got going on. Friends, as always, share this with those that you love. If you feel like somebody could benefit from what we're doing here on this little quarter-acre piece of property, growing a little bit of food, acting like crazy homesteaders, man, share it with your friends. We are en route to 2,500 followers on Facebook and 500 on Instagram. I think Noel was telling me today we are less than 200 followers away from 2,500 on Facebook. And Instagram, we're super close. Once we reach those goals, we have a huge giveaway we're going to do. We're getting things together from other vendors. We're getting books together. We're getting podcasts together that we enjoy, and we're going to give that away, and it's going to be fantastic. But we've got to reach our goals first. 2,500 on Facebook, 500 on Instagram. Bacon is on the stove. Bring those maters in. My wife is calling me for supper, friends. Tim, we're doing chickens for the very first time. We have 12. Tim, that's fantastic. You're going to be blown away at the number of eggs that you get every day, and it's going to be a blessing in your life. I promise. They're entertaining. They eat your kitchen scraps, and man, they supply you with all the eggs that you could ever consume. And they're going to pay for themselves. You're going to sell a few eggs here and there, and man, it's going to pay for all the feed that you need. Plus, all those kitchen scraps that you were taking to your compost pile or throwing in the trash, those go to the chickens now. Feed it to the chickens. They'll sort it out, and they'll love it, and they'll feed you eggs for that. All right, friends, share this with your friends. We're grateful for you being here. We love you. And God bless. We'll see you next time.